Hi, everyone. Welcome to A Way of God's Remembrance with Michael Hayes. This is presented by Awake to Love. I'm Lee here with Cindy. We are the volunteer Zoom hosts and so grateful that you are here. As an introduction, I will read Michael's words to bring clarity to the focus and format for this gathering. This is a weekly gathering for those seeking greater awareness of their true nature. There are many paths and approaches to higher consciousness and to greater awakening to who we truly are. The essence, the truth of all these paths is more about remembering who we are and have always been, rather than becoming something different or more than we have seen ourselves to be. A way of God's remembrance goes to the heart, to the intention of all the paths. This is what we will explore together each week. Michael will share thoughts and awarenesses that come forward as relevant and purposeful for our time together, followed by questions and answers related to what he shares about. We will begin with an invocation of light to help support us all to be in collective alignment. We would love for one of you to lead us in the light invocation. If you are so inspired, please raise your Zoom hand. After the light invocation, we will play a recording to lead us in Anai Hugh chanting. Linda, please unmute and thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Father, Mother, God. Thank you for bringing us together here for this blessing. Um, we give thanks for Michael and for his sharing everything that he does share with us so generously. We ask for the presence, the guidance, and the loving of the traveler, and the Christ and the Holy Spirit to be with us. And we ask that only that which is for the highest good take place. Lord, for this and all the blessings that we have received and we're about to receive, we truly give our thanks. Berush Beshem.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Way of God's Remembrance. It's so nice to be with all of you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Michael Hayes, and I guess I'm kind of the host of this tonight. I want to start by asking you all to send the light and prayers of healing to my wife, Alicia. She's been having some health problems today. So we just love all your light to go to her and all your good wishes. And we thank you for all of this. It's interesting when we focus on the unwellness of life that we go through so often, with physical pain or psychological suffering, emotional turmoil, mental confusion, and maybe even anxiety, like obsessive thinking. And all these are reflections to us, if we can use them that way, of a misalignment within our body, mind, emotions, or consciousness with the fundamental truth of our oneness with Spirit and God. Now, it doesn't mean that if we have that awareness of Spirit, we would never have physical suffering or a mind that wouldn't leave us alone or emotions that would, let's say, take us down, lead us to depression or anxiety. Those things will go on according to the karmic flow of the world and according to the circumstances of our life, and the circumstances of our genetics, and the circumstances of our physical proximity to circumstances and situations that are disturbing to those levels. But our process to undergo that and to outlast it and move beyond it is often knowable and reachable in relationship to our connection to who we really are. And I would say when we remember the truth of ourselves, there's an empowerment that comes to us, a peace that comes to us, and a consciousness of a reality that is above and beyond the physical states, regardless of the distracting nature of the pain or the suffering that we might have physically. This other awareness, this awareness of the truth of us, the truth of our oneness with God, the truth of us in who we've always been and always are, that is beyond time and space and therefore beyond all the experiences of the physicality. Our conscious experience of that, even if simultaneously the body is going through distress or the emotions in our mind are, will give us a perspective that will help to counterbalance the distress. It's a strange thing they've talked about a little bit in the Bible when they said that if we're in one were with the Spirit or with Christ, they could drink poison and be unharmed. They could be bitten by poisonous snakes and be unharmed. And the reality is the body might go through the harm, but who we are would not go through that harm. The spirit nature of us is not harmable by anything of this level. It transcends this level. It participates into this level to serve a purpose of God, but is never really part of it. Well, let's not say that. We could say it more like this level is always part of that spirit, but this spirit is never really part of this level. I'll say that again. This level is part of the spirit, but the spirit is never really part of this level. It utilizes this level and creates an experience of living in this level to the gain of God and to the growth in awareness of God and of the individual soul and the individual manifestations of God that are part of this creation. Everything within this creation is actively learning, growing, through all the karmas, through all the experiences, the purpose of it and the culmination of all of it is learning. And a word that we will find becomes synonymous to learning the more we awaken is awareness. Learning brings awareness. Awakening brings awareness. So we're learning, and as we learn, we awaken. We're gradually becoming more conscious of what is so. What is so is always so. This conditioned world we live in, we will experience it changing. We will experience our involvement with it changing. But the spirit that is eternal is not in a process of change in the same way. It is in a process of learning, but still always itself. Everything in this reality is amenable to the purpose of spirit. Yet the spirit allows this to play out in ways that at times we will perceive as contrary to what spirit should do based upon our assumptions about spirit. So because spirit allows a lot to take place, we say God allows a lot to take place that doesn't fit our picture or ideal of how the world should be or how we should be in the world. God is no respecter of persons, is a statement, I believe, out of the Bible. And that no respecter of persons is saying God will do what God will do. The Spirit of God will move as it would move. And the more we come into the acceptance of that truth and the cooperation with it and with that movement of spirit, the more we will know we are also that spirit that is moving. Even as simultaneously we play the game of time and space and involve ourselves with the body and all its processes. This concomitant existence is going on for all of us right now as we live and experience physicality. In the spirit reality, we are above and beyond all that. We are not of that. We are always of spirit. This that we're experiencing here, we're not really of it, but we participate with it. Spirit calls you, each and every one of you, to this truth of remembrance. Come conscious. Remember again. Jesus said, the Father and I are one. And he said, these things I do, you too shall do. So he realized that he was one with God. And he said we would realize that too. And so the spiritual destiny, the higher purpose and destiny of every being, every one of us, is to come to that full remembrance. The Christ moves into creation in this time as a grace action where the process of participating in time and space, which has been very confining and uh, limiting for us as souls, in that the karmic law of an eye for an eye was being upheld here for a very long time. And under those conditions, it was very difficult to find completion with the different karmic adventures that we were undergoing. The Christ action or the Christ opportunity comes forward, offering another approach to the karma, another approach to the process of this world. And it gives us the opportunity that when we are indeed learning from our experience, we are then opening ourselves to be available to grace and the forgiveness. Yes, it's very important for us to ask for that, ask for the grace and forgiving. So one of the things we do is we learn that we can ask for it and it can be granted. But the Spirit in the Christ will always look at the highest good for us. And if we haven't really learned the lesson that our soul intended, the grace action might be even perhaps to magnify that thing we think of as our suffering so that we get through it faster, or to magnify it so that we finally get sick and tired of it. We get sick and tired of being tired and sick. And we finally will let it go and move forward. So the grace could come in ways we don't expect. Our idealism would say, well, I asked for grace, so my pain should all go away and my suffering could all go away. And then I'm going to go do the same thing that brought me all the pain again. But that's demonstrating that you haven't really learned how to make those choices to truly stay out of that suffering, in which case the grace might not take your pain away. It might even accelerate it so that you really are forced to confront the opportunity to understand it, to learn about it, and let it go. Each of us has been given access to the call of spirit. It is an eternally present calling out of the spirit to each consciousness as a reminder of the truth of what each consciousness truly is. That each consciousness is of spirit, comes from spirit, exists in spirit, and is eternally linked to the spirit. We will reference that calls to us sometimes as the sound current, or as the audible word, or in Jesus' time, the word made flesh. But it is a messaging and a summoning out of God for every being to come to the truth of God. I invite each of you to make yourself available to that, to be receptive to it, receptive to its purpose in us and through us. And we do thank you always, Lord, for sharing with us this opportunity. We would partake of it as you would allow each of us. We give our thanks. Amen. Now I'm going to give it over to Lee, and he's going to give us some guidance, instruction about sharing. And after that, we'll take some sharing. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Michael. Bless you, Michael. This is guidelines for questions. Questions are to be about a way of God's remembrance and what Michael has shared. To ask a question, please raise your Zoom hand. You can find that by hovering near the bottom of your Zoom window. Click on the React button. A pop-up appears. Choose Raise Hand. Please also turn on your video for full participation. If you're on a low bandwidth connection and are unable to, so be it. Most important, and since so many of us have had the blessing of working with Michael over so many years for clearing so many things, this is not that. Please do not ask questions of a personal nature and do not ask Michael for assistance in clearing. Questions are to be for your benefit, the benefit of those of us gathered, and those who will participate via the archives. We ask that you look to the integrity of your intentions before asking a question of Michael, and thank you for your cooperation. Finally, here is the legal consent. By raising your hand and asking questions of Michael, you are giving full consent to Awake to Love to make the audio and video of this gathering, including your sharing, available as online archives for anyone to access. Please do not raise your hand and do not share unless you are in full agreement. Thank you.
Am I unmuted or am I on?
You're on.
Oh, let's talk to Sothi Selvaratnam. Almost said that right. Sothi Selvaratnam.
Yes. Just hold on. I'm trying to get my video going. Just hold on. Okay, video. Oh, here we go. All right. My experiences during SEs, I don't know that is going to the remembrance. I feel I'm very much in my mind, emotions, and just wavering here and there. And when I try and focus up here at the crown chakra and the tricitil, after a while, I just can't hold the focus there. It just drops.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, I somehow go to sleep, or I don't know whether if I travel or went to sleep. Then I get up, and that's it. So I don't know what's really going on.
Mm.
Am I even going anywhere near the whole process of remembrance? Because I don't come back with any remembrance or even my experiences or interpretations.
Yeah. What you're describing, Sothi, is you're still describing an approach that we in a sense, we all probably start with anyway, which is an approach of it's like you're saying, I'm trying to have awareness. I'm trying to get awareness. I'm doing chanting. I'm doing my meditation to try and create an uplifted experience. And I'm looking for experience. Now, many times we won't get the experience actually while we're doing the chanting. The experience may come at another time. There's a lot of experiences we can have through meditation, through spiritual exercises, which will be experiences where the experience we have adds to us. Like people see a light, people hear a sound, people will have a dream that gives them comfort. And those are all beautiful. I'm suggesting to you a fundamental truth is that you are always, always with God. And that you've forgotten that. And what I'm suggesting to you is the great thing that is your ultimate heritage and destiny is to get out of yourself, is to get out of the story of you and out of the dynamic of you.
How
You're
do I
still
do that?
Jesus said, of myself I can do nothing. It is the Father through me doing his own work who accomplishes all things. So big key is to realize that what I'm talking about, we can't do. I've told this before, but I'll say it again. I had a sharing with John Roger, the first Living Grace training, whenever that was, probably around 1990 or so, 89 or 90, something like that. And I can't remember why, but I guess I had a vision of this thing I'm talking about. And he said to me, when something is ordained by God, it must happen. And the only question is, how long will it take you to do it? He said, will it take you 2 years? Will it take you 6 years? And I was very adamant. I said, John Roger, what do I do? What do I do? I'll do anything, anything. And his response was, that is exactly the wrong approach. The less you do about it, the faster it will happen. Well, do you know how confusing that was to me at that time? I
It's
was
confusing to
so,
me now.
yeah, because I was doing what you were doing. I was trying to get to that next level, have that next experience. But see, as this process unfolded, I came to understand what he was talking about. See, if I'm doing it, that's where I'm trapped. I'm trapped in a reality where I am doing it. Me, the separate self, is doing it. And the less I'm involved with my separate individual person, the more availability is present for the spirit to awaken itself. get real clear. You are spirit, and you are spirit that has actually taken on an instrument of exploration into the world of time and space. And that thing that is the instrument to go into time and space, we call the soul. So it's like the soul is actually a shifting of the form of God that allows God to engage as an individual into the experience of time and space. God wants to experience what it would be like if it was individuated in time and space. So the soul is a particular vehicle that God's created to do that. But in reality, we're all one with God. We're all spirit in nature. And so we can do all that we can do as individuals to try and come away, to learn, to push. In a sense, there's a passage in the Bible that Jesus made a quote. I've heard John Roger quote it as well. He said, "The kingdom of heaven is taken by storm." It's almost like our individual consciousness trying to get into a greater consciousness. Like me as an individual trying to get into a greater consciousness where I can be a greater individual within that greater consciousness. It's almost like I'm going to try and wake up to the divine, and then I will be one with the divine. But I will never be one with the divine. It is the freedom from the illusion of I, the freedom from the illusion of me that gives me the oneness with the divine.
How do I do that? How do I get free?
You can't do it. You come to the full realization that of yourself, you can do nothing. See, you could take the initiation tones you're chanting, and you could look at those and say, these are my tools to get me where I want to go to these other dimensions of reality so that I can be awake to these other dimensions. Or you could look at these tones you've been given and say, these are like like private personal names of love that I can call out to God in the entirety of itself. And I chant those sounds, those tones to this God that I love, that God that I love might answer the call and bring me, and in a sense restore the part of itself that's been living through this experience of time and space back into the entirety of itself. So it's almost like when I'm chanting, it's not me trying to go somewhere. It's me inviting the Spirit of God to undo me, to free the whole illusion of my separation, my separate self, to literally break apart the illusion of my individual story, to free me from the game of time and space, which is really to free itself from the game of time and space.
Okay.
See, it's reverse. See, if I were you where you are and you're describing it, you describe your process, I'd say every time I would go to do my spiritual exercises, to use the terminology I think you would use, I would understand that it is God meditating me, or meditating itself awake. It is God calling itself back to itself. And it's calling itself out of this form and out of this story, out of the mind, out of the emotions, out of the body, out of all the contraptions of physicality. And it's extricating itself. And so the part of itself that is playing this game of physicality is the part that can take advantage of these sounds or these tones or whatever you want to call them and link up to it. And it is that part that gets pulled away from all of this. So think of it like with Jesus, they used to call him he said, I will make you fishers of men to some of his disciples. And in a sense, he was a big fisherman. They called Peter the big fisherman. Well, the idea is that think of it as like the soul is swimming in this ocean of time and space. And it has been in there so much that it's adapted to it. And it has, let's say, come into a deep forgetfulness, a deep adaptation into the world of the water, and its sense existing as a fish in relationship to other fish, as if that was all there was and all there is. And so that is a perspective that we would hold like we're the fish in the sea. And then the line is cast. The fishermen of God cast that line. Christ calls to us, the Spirit calls to us, the traveler calls to it, and the line is thrown into the water. And the bait on the end of that line, you could see, let's say, a U pendant, symbolic of the sound of God, the name of God. And we're like that fish. It comes in, and the fish that are red to recognize that as what they're looking for will go and nibble at that bait. Now the world is casting lines in there all the times too, trying to catch us up in something different. And so for the fish in the sea, when it's not their time to be, in a sense, saved from the ocean of time and space by the Christ and by the traveler, for those ones, they won't be attracted to that bait. They'll be attracted to the flashy dress, the new car, um, the body of that other person, the acclaim and the reward that would come if I did this or I did that, the power, the prestige, the recognition, the romance, all the different things that this time space experience seduces us with and has for eons of time. But if you're that soul that has been hearing the call, you'll be drawn back to that bait. And that bait, and you will, and when you go for it and you like reach your mouth, open your mouth to connect to it, and in a sense, you sing back that word to it. It takes you. But I know there's flying fish. They say in the water can jump out of the water, but you can't jump high enough to get out of the time and space in yourself as a fish. You must be reeled back in by that which lives outside of time and space. And that's what a fisher of men is about. They reel those souls that are ready back out of space and eventually bring them back into the truth of themselves as spirit and their oneness with God. This is something that is being done by God, not by you, not by me, not by any of us. It is action orchestrated from on high, serving the purpose of the divine.
But
This
then
is
there's
why
also,
this is why not one soul will be lost. Because eventually every soul will get tired of the distraction of time and space. And suddenly they'll be ready. They'll notice and get attracted to that other bait. When they make that statement of, that the traveler consciousness will always have form into the physical world. That's because it's kind of like it's always in some way drawing the consciousness back to the bait, back to that thing that can take them home. Now, it could be as a teacher talking, doing seminars. It could be as an artist doing a painting. It could be a sculptor like Michelangelo. It could be even scientists. There's even leaders and politicians like Abraham Lincoln and doing his Gettysburg Address, and there's something profound about it. 165 years later, nothing's lost. He could be Rumi doing his poems. It's like there is always that's that's there to help draw the consciousness back to this opportunity. But this opportunity is always there. It's just we're not always there ready for it. Now, with the coming of the Christ consciousness, the availability of it and our ability to to perceive the opportunity is greatly enhanced. And so we're in that time. Hence, this is being revealed much more directly and much more clearly.
I thought we still had a responsibility on our side to do our part.
Yeah, we are
So
part
what
of
is the responsibility that I have?
breathe, keep breathing in and out
Oh, that's all.
until life is as easy as breathing in and breathing out. You may be required to put food in your mouth, water in your body. You might need shelter if it gets too hot or too cold.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah. Bless you. That's a good question. And thank you for asking it. Okay, I see somebody in a white shirt. Oh my gosh. Oh, know who that is. Let me see. Elizabeth McGlynn.
Good morning, Michael.
Hello, Elizabeth.
I'm not exactly sure how to articulate my question, so I just place the light on that. When I listen to you and I listen to people like John Morton, JR, Jeffrey Morgan, there's a part, well, I look at all you guys as having a massive consciousness. And I sort of look at myself as having a very small consciousness in relationship to what you guys experience and know. But having said that, when I listen to all of you guys, I don't have the experiences that you talk about, but I have something in some part of my consciousness that knows what you're talking about. But it's like I have none here, but I seem to have something somewhere.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's having that experience somewhere is what I'm talking about. That knowing is the remembrance.
Is that remembrance?
Yeah, that's what it is. You just kind of know.
But
Think about it.
you have that knowing where you have that experience that you could describe or in
I
different
I
realms. I have none of that.
I do have a level of knowing, and I do have an ability to talk about that. I do have, yes, but everything I'm talking about is not only available to everybody else, but everybody else already has it. They just don't know it. I have a conscious awareness of it,
Yeah.
and there, and so what you're talking about, the people you're talking about, all have have more awareness of what's so. They don't have. Would you say they have more awareness? Maybe yes, but it's more. I'll just describe this. It might help you, might not, but it'd be for everybody. It's all like you're still in the paradigm where you're here trying to get there. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll speak for myself. I don't know that I can speak totally for Jeffrey and John, but this would be my suspicion. Um, they're for them, they are there. They're there talking to here. You're here trying to get there. But the messaging in the end will always be that you are also there. There is no here and there. But
Yeah, I get that.
you're still in that thing. When I'm working with you, when I'm doing these talks, I am in that place. I'm talking from that place of remembrance. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? Something happens.
Yeah.
It happens. That's why people keep coming back, because something happens. John Roger used to say, I could sit up here and say ham and eggs, ham and eggs, ham and eggs, and the same thing would happen. Well, if the same thing would happen when he's saying ham and eggs, what's he talking about? He's talking from it. And because he's talking from it, it activates the knower in us that is also in that place where he's talking from. We've just forgotten it. And we're in this delusion of being this body having a story in time and space. And then we get this idea somehow I could get beyond this body to a different kind of time and space. Then eventually realize I could actually get beyond time and space. But I'm telling you, the reality of you, the truth of you, the truth of every being is that we are already beyond time and space. But the seduction of the Maya, of the planet, of time and space is formidable enough that we lose track of that and we get lost in that misperception. I'm inviting you to open your conscious, open to that knowing. See, a lot of people think the progression is all about flashing lights and different sounds, and those are a sign of becoming more aware of subtler planes of reality, which is really neat. But as long as it's you and your individuation having those experiences, you're still caught. When you really get free, you'll realize there is no me. There is no individuation here. This is just an appearance. This is like just something that's being played out to serve a purpose of God. But in reality, I'm with God, and I've always been with God. And that
And I
one is,
really sense that. I sense that.
that's what I'm saying. That's the knowing, the sensing of that is the remembrance. And for me, that is a lot more valuable and much more on to the higher purpose of your being than all the different uh, I call it sound and light shows you could have through the different levels of creation, through the astral plane and the emotional plane and the mental plane and the unconscious plane, and even the dimensions above the soul of these sort of spirit dimensions of that. There's variation and differentiation in those. And could it have value to know those differentiations and experience it? Yes, there could be value in it. But ultimately, the greatest value in that is it helps you realize more and more that this reality that you're playing in means less and less to you because more and more you know you're not it. Eventually you get up there enough, you start to really know I'm not I'm not that one on dwelling on the earth. I'm not that one with all those worries and concerns of the body, of uh, what's going to happen, what do people think of me. I'm not that one. You
And I've
just
had
know
that
it.
experience.
Yes, I know. So you already have remembrance. I'm inviting you to even greater remembrance. If
So
you
how do
get,
I do that, Mike?
if your remembrance gets complete enough, you can remember not simply your oneness with God, but you can have a remembrance that you're entirely with God, which means you can have awareness of all the facets of God, which would then be awareness of the different levels and dimensions and differentiations of God. And all of that is knowable, but you can't know it as a human.
No.
You know it as spirit. In the
Yes.
Bible, and this is a quote John Rogers also said, God is to be worshipped in spirit.
Yes.
Well, to truly worship God in spirit, you have to come awake or come to the remembrance that you are spirit. And then as spirit, you can worship spirit. That's the thing. it's already happening for you. See, you're trying to press in your personality and press your humanness to you're kind of like me with my John. How do I do it, John Roger? And he said, the less you do about it, the faster it will happen. I'm telling you, let go and let God. The spiritual law of assumption says if you want God consciousness, you must assume it. Now, this is getting repetition or repetitious. So many people here may be frustrated. I'm saying this again. My little key for myself is they take the word assumption, I break it down. The root of it is assume. So it's assume, action, assumption. So to assume, I take the word assume, I break it down, and I say, as you, me, assume. And so as you, me. Now, if I make that you, HU, another name for God, so as God, me. So what I'm really doing is I'm realizing that I'm really as God is who I really am. I'm really God, living and looking through the me. Okay, you got that because I saw it shift for you.
Yeah.
Looked like a move for a lot of other people. Oh, I'm glad I shared that again. Sometimes I share these same little things. I think, I'm getting tired of this. But I remember John Rogers sharing, not one soul will be lost. And I was probably about 7 years roughly into working with him, 6 years, actually about 6 years into working with him. And one day he said I think it was said on a recorded tape, and he said, not one soul will be lost. And suddenly I knew it. I remembered it. And from that moment, and whenever that was, 1985, I've always known it. That's what's so neat about the remembrance. When it really starts to happen, it's yours. Now, this world is very compelling, and so you may be distracted, and you might think, well, I lost the remembrance. No, you just kind of got distracted. But once you really start to have it, you always have it. And then the more you spend time in it, or let's not say you don't spend the time, but the more you're in the state of consciousness of remembrance, the more that becomes your normal. And as that becomes the norm of your life, it's much harder for you to be shaken from it. Now, there's a thing in the Bible which says, that which can be shaken will be shaken. So if we can be still shaken out of our remembrance, it tells us we still have some alignment into the world where the karma of the world has still got a hold on us. So it tells us we're something else to let go, to clear, to get beyond. And we do that work of doing the clearing, of getting beyond those things that would distract us. We don't have to go look for all those things to clear. What we have to do is just keep our eye on the remembrance, keep our eye on the Lord. And then if we're having that experience of being in that remembrance and suddenly we're out of that remembrance, we just got to look at what's got between me and my remembrance. Oh, well, if I'm allowing it in between me and my remembrance, I must have an attachment to it, which means I have a karma with it. I go and deal with the karma, let that go. It disappears. I'm back in the remembrance. So I don't have to go seek through all of creation and reality looking for things to clear. I just keep my eye on the Lord. And without fail, those things that could distract me from my remembrance will show up to do their very best to distract me. So, Lord, I'm keeping my eyes on you, following you is the thing. Let thine eye be single. The way is straight, the gate is narrow. It's the remembrance. Now, there is a consciousness that is always in remembrance, that holds the opportunity of remembrance, and we could say the keys of remembrance for all consciousness in all creation. Another name that we're using for that right now is the traveler consciousness. But you calling it the traveler consciousness, it's kind of turning the focus more to, well, we'll tend to focus it more on a personage that's being used by that consciousness is always in remembrance to help provide access to come into remembrance. But that consciousness is actually that which pulls us back into remembrance. It's like you could say it's the line that pulls us back. It's the one but it's always there. We just come to that point where suddenly we know that we're suddenly that that bait in the waters. We just have to have it. We might have spent eons of times just ignoring it. So I hope that helps you.
It
I
does.
saw,
Can I ask you one more question, Michael?
yeah, quickly.
What technique have you used that has been the most effective in terms of clearing?
The biggest key to clearing is awareness. I've done muscle testing. Before I was really that good at muscle testing, I would clear with spiritual exercises. Now, sometimes took a long time. I've mentioned before, I've done several times. I can remember just doing 10 hours straight because it took me that long till the spiritual exercises cleared the thing. But why did it clear it? It didn't really clear it. It got me so much into a degree of remembrance that from that place of remembrance, I could see, I just saw what was in the way and it just went poof. So I think spiritual exercise is a great fallback if nothing else works. I think the DSS class teaches some tools. People that work with me know I do it a little differently. The way I was taught in the spirit world was not simply to focus on clearing something, but focus on always on the education of the consciousness as to why you picked it up so that you would learn. Because the greater purpose of the soul is to learn, not simply to get clear, but to learn. So that's the way I do the clearing in a way. When I've taught classes on it, that's what I teach. And it's practice, practice, practice. Took me a long time to get really good at it. Assuming I'm really good at it, I guess I am. I know a lot of people think I am. I think I am, and then I'll run into something which humbles me, and I have no clue. And then I realize, well, I don't have to know. I just have to know how to connect to you, Lord, because there's nothing in all of your reality, all your creation that you don't know about. And then I get the information. So what you're doing coming into the remembrance, coming into the knowing, will actually make you better at clearing.
Mm-hmm.
You doubt yourself a lot because trying to work the process the way you think the process is supposed to work instead of letting the process work you, letting your source work you, letting your source clear you or clear itself from the effect of this world through you in the way it most calls you to do it. People do it differently. There's people I've worked with who come up with their own little variations of that I would do, and it works really well for them, better than what I would do for them. There are some very good people at doing this, but they put a lot of time and energy into it. You don't ever have to clear anything. You're doing a clearing process if you can get it in touch enough with remembrance. But you'll probably, if you could combine the clearing with the awakening and remembrance, it's probably the most advantageous way. But sometimes people make it all about clearing and you get distracted, and then the clearing actually becomes another thing that keeps them from remembrance. They get so obsessed with trying to clear everything. It's not our job to clear everything. I only have to clear what's right, what's impeding my remembrance. That's the only part that matters. There could be 10 billion things out there that I could potentially clear, but there's only one that's obstructing my remembrance. That's the only one I care about. And I clear that, and if there's none of those other 10 billion get in the way of my remembrance, they can be there forever for all I care. You say, well, but don't you have to take care of all that before you can go to God? No. If I have to take care of it, it'll be brought between me and that remembrance. I don't have to decide. It's decided for me by, does it have a capacity to make me forget? when you're fully in the remembrance, it's a lot harder to get you to forget. But if it gets, you just realize, oh, something's causing me to forget. What have I allowed between me and the remembrance? Then use your tools. I use the tools. I chant a lot. I mean, a lot of people know I'm a little bit of an insomniac a lot of nights. Spirit will get me up. I think last night it was about 2 or 3. And I was probably about 3 hours and I've just come to accept, oh, now that happens almost every week before these classes. So I realized I had a class, one of these things tonight. So I said, all right, you're gonna show me something different. So, and they did. So, but this is not, all our processes are variations on the same theme. As we come into remembrance, we start to know the same reality, the same truth, because there is only the one truth. Now we might be observing it from a little bit different perspectives based upon that we're still, each of us existing in karmic flows, whether it's John Morton you mentioned, was it you or somebody, John Morton or Jeffrey or myself or whoever. There's a lot of people who are coming into more and more awareness of this, not just the people you mentioned. And the capacity to know that is emerging in many people. They might describe it differently. It's different. I have maybe it's a gift, but the way I was explained to me in spirit is I have a mantle to be able to explain this. Like there's a spirit form that has transcended before that works through, and so it understands the dynamic more completely. So it's an advantage, but it doesn't change the reality. This is the reality and the destiny for everyone. You, me, all of us. Bless you.
Bless you, Michael. Thank you very much.
Oh, we've been had kind of some long sharings here. Let me see. Any more time? Oh, about. I thought there was one other hand, but I don't see it now. I saw Wendy Kunkel's hand, but I don't see it. If she wants to share, she's got a chance. Otherwise, we're going to start wrapping up because I don't see any other hands. Wendy Kunkel, are you still there? I think she left. Oh, there she is. All right. Wendy, can you hear me?
Hi, Michael.
All right. Hi, sweetie. Ask your question.
Much love and light to you and Alicia.
Thank
you.
you.
So I'm really grateful last week with the God's Remembrance that, the reminder that we're already here, even if I don't know it. And yeah, I guess for myself and for anyone else who might be going through it, my question is, like, I'm hearing everything that you're saying, but it sounds just like great ideas. I feel farther, sorry, distractions.
It's all
I
right.
feel farther from the remembrance. I'm not feeling the connection in my heart, in my spirit.
Yeah, see right there. You just described part of your problem. You said, I'm not feeling the remembrance in my heart. And that's you indicating that you're still very much oriented to trying to experience what I'm talking about within the self, within yourself. And I'm telling you, the remembrance is when you get out of yourself, you get beyond yourself. It's not an experience you feel in your heart, your head, or anything here. You experience, you mean I feel it out here? Yeah, but you feel beyond. It's a beyond the self. It's not an experience I have. What happens is I come into see, here's where the language defeats me a little bit. That we say I have this remembrance, this knowing that I'm not this. and that I'm one with God, that I'm one with spirit, and that I'm always that. And that's always what's so. But fundamental key in all that is that I know I'm not this. I'm not this body. I'm not this form. And so you're still trying to have that experience in this. That's why John Rogers said to me, the less you do about it, the faster it will happen. Because if it's me doing it, the thing that's in the way of it is me. So if I'm doing it, I'm just continuing the thing that keeps me out of touch with it. It is the surrender of the me, the loss of the me, of the story of my individuation. It is the undoing of it. And of myself, I can do nothing. That quote from Jesus is also saying, we don't know how to, quote, obliterate the me. We try it, and there's people meditate and try and destroy the ego, destroy all that. But that gives an altered experience and a beautiful, profound experience of getting beyond the mind and getting beyond a level of self-absorption. But what I'm really talking about is a freedom from there being a you, which is paradoxical, because then you'll have that and you'll know that, but then you'll, in a sense, reconnect to the experience of you to continue to participate in the world. The thing I'm talking about, a lot of times people would only get to this when they left the body and were no longer physical, because then it was easy to know they weren't the body, because they left and it was back there, and here they are, and they're just themselves. And they realize that was never that body. And anybody who has a near-death experience knows that. I've had multiple of those in this life, just in this life, where I was, oh, I'm not that. But you're going to be brought to this not because you do it, because it is the Father's will. God has ordained it that not one soul be lost. And when that opportunity is taken up by that soul, I mean, the bait is thrown into the water, and when that soul comes and does that, and the soul takes the bait, that's a sign of, oh, they're ready. But you say, oh, well, it's never offered until they're ready. No, it's there all the time. But most of them just say they don't see it. They're so bedazzled by all the other bait, all the other temptations, all the trying to be something, trying to be happier, trying to be more in themselves, going for contentment, going for fulfillment, going for pleasure, going for happiness within themselves. Happiness is the great satisfaction of ourself. Joy is the great satisfaction of being beyond the self. That's what people be enjoying. You say everything's falling apart, and they get laughing hysterically because they hit the joy. And well, the self is suffering, but they're in joy. How can that be? Because the joy is an experience that they can have solically. Happiness is something we have emotionally, mentally, egoically, personally. So you're still trying to have the reference as part of what metaphysically has been called the great path of becoming. But eventually that will fall apart. Falls apart for everyone. I'm just talking to you and sharing to you my experience of this. And I and yet some of you keeps listening, and some of you's called to it because on some level you know this. It's just your predisposition to still seek for it in the world is still pretty strong, which is just indicative that you still have a lot of karma with the world. Karma is what attracts. Karma just means action. So if we have an action still play in this dimension, this world, we're more drawn to it. But eventually, we will get tired of it. And more than anything else, we'll realize that we can't get what we really want here. We'll get some happiness, but then here comes the sadness. We'll get some pleasure, but oh God, here comes the pain. we'll come to realize that this is not going to be the Shangri-La that, that sort of the false bauble that gets dropped in the water and when all the fish jump for it. The utopia, the Shangri-La, that's not this place. But the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The blessings already are, which means that is entirely present when we're entirely present with this. But we haven't let ourselves be present. We've been distracted. But what have we been distracted? We've been distracted back into the story of the body, in the body, about the body, for the body, in relationship to a bunch of other bodies. But a way of God's remembrance is coming awake to the reality of self beyond all that. It's coming awake to the God form, the God substance, the God self that is in everything and through everything in this world that exists and through all reality and creation. And it is conscious in it and conscious of it. And is conscious into all the singularities of us, and yet is never really part of us the way we think it is. We're part of it, but it's never part of us. Because it's always beyond us, even as it's playing into this game. Now, everything I'm talking to you about, as I'm talking to you about it, I'm talking from it, which is giving you an opportunity to see that happening. You get in that shift because I'm talking from it and you're responding. So if you're responding to someone talking from it, that means it's available to you. So just stay with it and it will be yours. I mean, I think I'm getting a lot of feedback from a lot of people in these classes that they're having this experience. So I keep showing up and I talk about whatever I talk about. Do you think I have anything pre-planned here? Never. I just show up and just start talking because the big thing is that is in the remembrance. Is using this as an opportunity to support remembrance.
Yeah, and I hear that the pattern, the part that's trying to get it in the world is also not the part that can get from here to the whole, you talked earlier about it, from here to there.
No, it
That's
won't.
part of the
It's not.
game.
No, it won't.
It's not getting to that
It's
result.
not part of that and it won't be there. But sometimes you have to go do that until you find out it won't get you what you want and you give it up. I remember John Rogers saying very clear to me at one point, and when he said it to me, I thought they should have been playing like ominous music in the background because he said, anything you put between me and you, I'll help you get. And I remember as soon as he said, I said, oh, damn. I think he's telling me I'm putting something between me and him, and he's going to help me get it, and I'm not going to like that. On the other hand, when I got the thing, I realized I really didn't want it, and maybe this time I would let it go for the last time so that it wouldn't have to come between me and him. Seek first the kingdom of heaven.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, it's right there for you. It's just up to you. You're going to do it. This life, the next, the next, the next. You will. Up to you. But it's calling you. Just answer the call. Yes, Lord, my life is yours. I've lived all these lives and I lived them for me. This one I'm going to live for you. Lord, what would you have me do? Let go and let God. Let God live through you as you. Let God's will and thy will be one. Let the world you've lived in desperation and unawareness, be filled by this truth that you know are connected to. Become a fisher of men. Bless you. Berush B'Shem. All right, well, we went a little over, so I'll say a little prayer and we'll call it a night. Thank you all for participating. It's an honor and a joy to be able to share with you. Oh, one quickie, next week, we're going to have a 2-hour class, 6:30 to 8:30, so be prepared. My wife Alicia will be participating with it, and you'll get to see Remembrance from another angle, but I think that could be really useful. I know I've learned from it. So love you all. Dearest Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to come into the remembrance and come awake and to share in the fullness of your purpose as it unfolds in and through us and through all life. We open to receive grace and to partake of this Holy Spirit that has been extended into our world at this time. We ask and we receive, and we share this oneness, not through effort, not through ambition, but through letting go and surrendering to the truth. We become way showers of truth. We let the truth show the way through us. And we lift one another as you lift us. Thank you, dear Lord. May your blessings be present for each of these people through this week, that they may grow in this week, come more into the remembrance. Bless you, Lord, in all your ways. Amen. Thank you all and bless you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Michael.
Michael. God bless.
Thank you, Mikey.
Thank you, Michael.
Michael, God bless you.
Thank you.
Love you, brother.
Yeah.
Love you,
You and Alicia and family.
Hey,
Good
Shan.
night,
Good night,
Michael.
Red and Ron.
Bless you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you, Michael. Love you.
Bless you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lee. Love you.
God bless.